Hey everybody, Dave Hagan here. We all gotta go to work every day. So I want to talk about 9 steps to a better day at work. That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
Thank you and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Financial Wellness Podcast. This is Dave Hagan coming to you from beautiful downtown Van Nuys. With me as always, Mr. Brian Reed.
Howdy, David.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You know, we're in our 3rd season already. Can you believe it? There's more than 100 tracks 100 shows that we've done. It's kind of crazy, right? And in our 3rd season, I don't know, when we started this, I didn't know if we'd get to a 3rd season.
Still going strong.
Still going strong, still having fun. And the surprising thing to me, still coming up with interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. So I'm looking through the Wall Street Journal last week, February of 2020, and I see this article, 9 Steps to a Better Day at Work, and it's based upon a book called Eat, Sleep, Work, Repeat, 30 Hacks to Bringing Joy to Your Job. And I'm going, I would like to read that book. I looked at it on iTunes, and I'm going to download it. There's 3 different sections, and I want to focus on the first part, which was talking about how to add interesting things to do to your day or to make your day better at work. The others were talking about building collegiality with your people and other kinds of things like that. But I wanted to just talk about that. That book, Bruce Daisley, I guess is his name, and he's the former European vice president for Twitter. And the book is available on Harper One, so everybody go check that book out. We're just going to kind of kick around the first little piece of that and see what we think. So 9 steps to a better day at work. Number 1, have a monk mode every morning. And when I first saw that, I thought, what do? You go in and you some Gregorian chant, something every morning? No, I mean, what they were saying is set aside some work time, some quiet time where people aren't going to bother you either before or after your main hours. And in this case, they're saying, every morning. And use that as time to do deep work, to do thoughtful work, or to prepare your day or something like that. We've talked about this now that I think about it a couple times. Tim Cook and Branson and some of these other titans of industry were talking about quiet time where they do their emails at home after they work out but before they go into work or something like that. So they try and have a little bit of quiet time to kind of focus their day, think about their day. I remember years ago when I worked for a law firm, one of the partners set out 2 hours in the morning where you couldn't knock on the door. And normally he had the clerks and the associates and all the people, hey, what about this or that? And he said, you can't come in the door for these 2 hours. And I thought,
that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, but initially I thought, what a butt, what an arrogant butt. Just answer my question, and your time isn't that important. But you know what? 1, it turned out it was, and 2, it was his chance to produce some paperwork for the day and to get people going and this and that, and it really did make sense. And then you get a little older, it does make sense.
I think we've all probably had the experience of having to go in early to get something done for a meeting that was going to happen.
Sure. And
the office has a completely different vibe when it's pre-hours.
Yeah.
And you can focus up and get more done in that. You can do an hour's worth of work in 20 minutes.
Right. No, absolutely. You get a big coffee, a cup of Joe, and you sit down and it's quiet, and as long as you don't get distracted by your email, right? Because that takes you down the rabbit hole. You're looking at this or that, but if you can just pull out the first thing on your list and get that done, no, I think absolutely. Now, some people like to do this at the end of the day when it's quiet, and that's okay. Or if you just wanted to shut your door, that's okay too. It's just that early in the morning to get it done off the top is kind of nice to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start your day.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we agree with that one. Number 2, celebrate headphones. Now this seems kind of unfriendly to me, but it's a clear indicator. Hey, don't talk to me. Maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe you have a do not disturb light, or you close the door if you're fortunate to have an office. So that's a way of letting people know don't bug me, and it also blocks that sound.
I admit I've done that before, where I've had earbuds in, and the power ran out on them, but I left them in just so people wouldn't come over. Just leave me alone.
Oh my good. That makes sense. I know for a fact that both of my parents are still living, and I know for a fact that when Dad wants some quiet time, he doesn't put the hearing aids in. And I said, Dad, you can't hear Mama talking. And he goes, yeah.
He goes, nope, I can't.
I can't. And that's by design. I need some downtime. But I don't know. I guess you could get away with it, but it does look kind of unfriendly.
Look, they don't know. Maybe just give a little bob of the head every now and then or actually have some music on.
I guess
if you're one of those people that I can sometimes do it if it's songs that I am very familiar with, so it's just background noise. But if it's anything new, I'll get sucked in and I want to hear everything in the lyrics.
Now
and
you listen to the lyrics and you're on your way. So, yeah. Celebrate headphones. I guess we sort of go along with that.
I'm going to give that one a thumbs up.
Okay. Number 3, meeting free days. I like that. Days that you've set aside. Now that's great if you can do it. If your job is like customer service, meeting free days or even celebrating headphones isn't going to do it, right? If that's your job. But great if you can do it. I remember years ago, I had a heavy volume of people that were coming into the office to meet with me. And, at 2 and then 1 and then at 2:30, and it ate up your day. So ultimately I said, look, I need the mornings to respond to phone calls, draft documents, do the things that I need to do, and I will meet with people every afternoon, 5 days a week. Set me up for 4 or 5 appointments, and of course my afternoons were just like book solid, which was a good thing for business, but it allowed me to control my time and see people back to back. And I had the ability to do that. I had the energy and the natural inquisitiveness to want to know about, what people were proposing or what their issues were. And it allowed me to control my time quite a bit. It actually made that much volume tolerable. What do you think?
It sounds like you're just doing a hybrid of it. You couldn't afford to do meeting-free days because you had to have meetings every day.
That's true.
So you just adjusted it, and I think people can do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 2 hours in the morning, I'll never have meetings set up during,
right.
Again, but it's like you said, if you can control that variable.
If you can control that.
Of your workplace.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Plan your day out or plan your week out even, meeting-free days. Number 4, go for a walking meeting. Now, I never thought that this would work because someone would be out of breath. But Steve Jobs used to do this. You know why? Because I saw him do it in the movies.
So it must be true.
Yeah, it must have happened, But he was big on taking people out for a meeting. Hey, walk with me, And they'd walk around the neighborhood. And you get some exercise. It's great for getting someone's total attention. Because the phone isn't ringing and people aren't bringing in stuff for you to look at or sign or whatever. So it's a good way to have a one-on-one. But first you got to make sure that the person that you're walking with can do it. Because if you're running them out of breath and you're asking them to talk with you, it's going to be a one-sided conversation. Ooh, now there's an interesting strategy. When you want to control the conversation, walk them uphill.
Schedule a walking meeting.
Walk them uphill, and then you go. When you get to the top, you go, I'm so glad you agree with me on everything because you haven't expressed any opposition. The things you learn, But you also have to plan a walk, it seems to me, where you can't be interrupted. You can't walk around the business. You got to get out.
It's got to be like a personnel discussion or a long-term thing because you don't have computers. You're not going to have a whiteboard.
Right.
You're not going to have access to files.
Right.
okay, Steve was able to pull it off fine, but I'm not really buying this one.
You're not buying it?
No.
Okay, I kind of liked it. You also need to walk at a place where other people can't listen. Like you can't have a personnel conversation while you're walking through the office. Shouldn't have a personnel conversation where you're standing in line at Starbucks, because you don't know who's listening.
You would need to have a lake nearby with no traffic. I don't see how this happens in New York City.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I've never been there, so you get around more than I do. But yeah, a lot of traffic noise, it wouldn't work. So that kind of leads us to number 5, grab a coffee with a colleague. Now, I like that. It's great for focus. It's informal. I think it would be great if you had to deliver bad news. I thought one of the most interesting scenes that I ever saw was in the movie Jerry Maguire, and he goes out with the boss for lunch. And at the lunch, the boss fires him. And back at the office, everyone's calling his clients and stealing his clients. And so he's like running back to the office. I mean, I guess people do stuff like that. But I thought grabbing a coffee with a colleague, not a bad idea.
I think it's a great way to establish this is an informal meeting, and maybe you can sometimes get things done without the straitjacket of being in the office and the formality of it all.
Right. Of course, if it's a longer meeting and you're on your 3rd latte, things might get a little intense.
You're wrong. No, you're wrong. More coffee? Yes.
Yes, please. Or if you sit down and then the person you're sitting down with says, I'll have a triple shot, red eyeball, wake up something, coffee latte. You're going, well, we're going to have this meeting go short. I don't want to deal with this at the end. Classic. All right, number 6, ban phones in meetings. I thought about this for a minute and I thought, duh. You can't have phones going off when you're in a meeting. Isn't that frustrating? You sit down with someone or a group of people having a meeting and they set their phone right on the table and they're like checking their email and the thing is ringing and it's very distracting.
I don't know.
Nobody's that important.
Nobody's that important. I mean, maybe you can ban phone use in the meeting.
Okay.
But you can't tell. I would never tell somebody don't bring your phone in. I don't know. If you're the boss, maybe you can get away with it.
I don't know. I got to tell you, just a couple of minutes ago while we're recording, my phone starts going off. It looks like I had 2 or 3 things coming in, and it was damn distracting. Thank you. And I didn't pick it up, and it was on silent. And I've even turned it over so I won't see the screen. But just with the little light going off, or you hear it vibrating, it's distracting.
Well, now we're getting into a whole nother conversation of what is the proper etiquette of, okay, so you put your phone on the table and it's down.
Right.
What are you telling the person that you're across from? I mean, we all do it now.
Yeah, we do.
Should it be in our pockets?
Mm-hmm.
Should we not bring them out officially? I mean, we're going to have it on vibrate anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to know something is happening.
Yeah.
But
I've used it even the other way from time to time. I'll set it out and I'll tell the person that I'm meeting with, it'll ring and I click it off and I said, this is more important to me. The only call I pick up is like daycare for my son or something like that. So I mean, I guess there's ways to play it, but wow, it can be awfully distracting sometimes.
In more than just business meetings, just in life.
Yeah.
We're addicted.
So true. I hear that on college campuses, they have a call blocker. So the prof walks in and they turn on the blocker and it creates a no call, no text zone.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And apparently I've heard it's common. So maybe I just need to get me one of them.
I want to get one.
Right?
Just to set it off in like a coffee bean and freak people out.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And maybe they should be built into all the cars so people can't text in their cars or only text through the Apple Play device that's built into their car, something like that. So, we're gonna have to start to deal with those kinds of issues, especially as the phone or the comm device, as I like to call it, becomes more and more more and more prevalent. So, I would ban phones. especially if someone is responding. It may be one thing to see it going off, but it's certainly another thing to respond to it.
Agreed.
You're 2 thumbs up.
We need to do something about the phones in meetings.
Yeah. Number 7, laugh. Now, I think that's great. Of course, that's why we're always kind of laughing here and having some fun at TFWP. I think it's always good to laugh, but to a point, obviously. I think it's always a good idea to start a meeting with a joke. It's always a good idea to start a speech with a joke. Anyone who teaches public speaking will tell you start with a story or a joke. Of course, it's got to be a good one, but it loosens people up. You have to be careful with the jokes, especially these days. But I like to inject some laughter into a meeting. I think it makes people breathe a little deeper. I think it loosens people up. I kind of like that. What do you think?
I'm in. I'm a big laugh guy.
You're a big comedy guy. All right.
I'm down with the funny.
You're down with the funny. Well, that's part of your background too, right? Yeah. Number 8, operate a no-fly zone weekend with respect to your email.
Hell to the yes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Kind of hard to do if you're one that's feeling left out of the action or something, but absolutely. In fact, my business email, I don't look at on the weekend. And I know a lot of people are really impressed with themselves. Like, well, what if nothing can happen on the weekend because office hours are closed? Nothing can happen. So don't bother me.
Guess what? If it was important, you would have called.
Yeah. Or even business. Well, none of my business clients have my personal phone. I mean, that's kind of a mistake too, because if for no other reason you don't want a client to call you and you think it's the wife and you pick it up and you go, hey, baby, because that stuff costs you money. You can't do that. People won't understand. So I don't see my email on the weekend. I don't want to think about it, frankly. My personal stuff may be a little different. If someone wants to get a hold of me that's got my personal email, I'll do that. But hard to put it down.
It is, but I've gotten pretty good at it, at being able to not check. It's like they would have called.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a healthy thing. I think it's a healthy thing. All right, number 9, replace presenting with reading. Now that was interesting. I never thought about that. The article talks about Jeff Bezos, who says, "Look, I don't want a PowerPoint. I want a 2, 3, 4 page document. Let everybody read the document, then we'll have our meeting." What do you think?
No. You need visuals.
That's what I think.
You need the whiteboard. You need to. Now, maybe the PowerPoint is going to happen after.
Yeah.
So you're letting everyone know this is the journey we're about to take.
Right.
And let's go now. We're going to start at point 1.
Yep.
That would kind of make sense.
Yep, I agree.
Do a summary, a pretty detailed summary even.
Right. But to ask somebody to read 3 or 4 pages when all their life they grew up watching Gilligan's Island, it's going to be hard to get them to focus. I think people listen better. I think they retain more when there's a visual component.
When they're engaged with what's going on.
No, absolutely. So I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. Although, remember, we were talking about, who was it? Charlie Munger from Berkshire. And he went and gave a talk at, Harvard Business School or Harvard Law School or SC Business School, something like that. And they gave all the students a reading assignment ahead of time. They had to read Warren Buffett's yearly letter, which, by the way, is no easy read. There's a lot of meat to get through Warren's yearly letter, but they made them read that ahead of time so that they had some context to talk. I agree with that. Read something ahead of time. But to go to a meeting and say, now read this, I don't know. Also, meeting time's precious.
Yeah, you're wasting together time when you could have just said, email it ahead of time and going, we're discussing this.
Right.
Be ready.
Right. I mean, if you're sitting there reading something, you're going to miss the first 2 verses of Kumbaya when everybody comes together.
And a great opening joke.
Yeah, that's right. And the great opening joke, right?
That's right.
Man. So those are the 9 that were put together by this author. I've got a couple of my own.
What do you got?
I got this. First of all, schedule about half of your day. When you come in the morning, schedule about half of the day. If you schedule all day, you're not going to complete it. Most efficiency experts say that if you're in the office for 8, you're productive 5, and 5 is good. You should be happy with 5. More is better, but you're probably only going to be productive for 5. Secondly, have a hit list of stuff that absolutely must be done before you walk out the door. I remember years ago, I was listening to some motivational speaker, some business speaker, and they said, look, how do you get stuff done? He goes, think of it this way. If someone said, if you get all the stuff done on your list by 2 o'clock, I'm going to put you on an airplane that'll take you to a boat, and you're going to be on a cruise for 2 weeks. How quickly could you get down your list? And you're going, well, I could ramp it up. Then he goes, well, why don't you just do that all the time? And then you could go home if you get it done early. And, that makes sense. One of the axioms or principles that efficiency people talk about is that the work expands to the available time to do it. So, I mean, you could spend 8 hours. A typical person would spend 8 hours on a 1-hour project. And if you try and break through that human nature trait, you could certainly be more productive. So, have a hit list, get it done, schedule a good part of your day. Realize that you're going to lose a good part of your day because, Joe comes in and wants to tell you about this or that or has a question and you haven't scheduled that. So, another thing about scheduling part of the day is schedule some time to eat out of the office. Now, that's hard for me because I just go, I got so much to do. I got my hit list. I got blah, blah, blah. I'll just grab something. And then you're hangry. Right? Or you don't eat.
Hangry is bad.
Yeah, and you don't eat the good stuff. You go, well, I really should go over to the Whole Foods and get a grain sandwich or this or that. And you go, no, just better to go down the hall or go to the gas station across the street and just get a candy bar. And that's not good for you.
That's not going to work.
Yeah. The other side of that is, at least for me, eat light. Eat light. I ate a whole sandwich and some fries. I'm full. I got greasy food in me, and I'm falling asleep.
It's nap time.
Right, yeah. So,
it's nap 30.
Eat like half a sandwich, eat something light, eat some grains, eat some salad, something like that, The other thought that I had was have a wind-down procedure. Before you go, don't just say, I finished the last thing and walk right out. Have kind of a procedure. Go over the day's accomplishment. Evaluate the day. How efficient were you? Was it a successful day? Did you get too distracted? It doesn't have to be a long evaluation. It doesn't have to be a long wind down, but just something. And then sketch out on a piece of paper a couple things that you want to do for tomorrow. What's important for tomorrow. And that way you can kind of put that aside, and when you go home, maybe you won't think about it so much.
No, I've heard that. A way to deal with anxiety over what's coming tomorrow or when you have a lot of things to do is to make sure that it's all written down so that you go, all right, it's done. I've thought about it. It's all written down. Go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
At least try to.
Exactly. One other thing that just occurred to me that I always try and do, and I borrowed this concept from the construction trades, always clean up your work area. So in the morning you start with a clean desk. Or in construction, a clean construction site. Don't leave tools out. Don't leave papers out. Kind of tidy it up so when you walk in, it's a lot easier to face.
I worked in a restaurant a long time ago, and you've got to break down the kitchen, clean it, and reset everything for the next day.
Wow, you worked in a restaurant? I didn't know that.
I did. Yeah.
What kind of food?
It was a chain.
A chain. I think
it was called The Cooker.
The Cooker. I never even heard of that.
East Coast
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all started. I did fast food. I'm not going to tell you where, but I think we all started at some kind of fast food place. I mean, that's a great place to get a start.
Yeah.
I think one more thing: find a way to have some fun or to get a sense of accomplishment. I mean, think about this: you spend 8 out of every 24 hours working, or think about it this way: you spend 8 out of your 16 waking hours working, and that's a big commitment, And if you're not having some fun, or if you're not getting some sense of accomplishment or fulfillment, do something else, I mean, because otherwise it's like a prison sentence. And there's so many other things you can do. We're taught, at least we were taught, you had to go to high school, then you had to go to college, and you got to get a job with the corporation. It's not so much like that anymore. And it doesn't have to be, and really never had to be. Go work at Club Med, I went back to a high school reunion years ago, and the guy's going, yeah, I play the trumpet, in the band on a cruise ship. And I go, well, I do billable hours. And he goes, I've seen the world. And I'm wondering, who had the richer life experience? Probably him. He might not have had as much in his 401k, but is that always the bottom line? It's important to think about, it's important to pursue, but is that the important line? There's a lot of the world I haven't seen.
Yeah. I mean, there's an opportunity cost for everything.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything in Asia, South America, Australia, and that's a negative in my life, I think.
I am going to say now's not the time to go to China.
I would say pretty much X-nay on the China
X-nay on the right? China A.
South Korea's got a lot of coronavirus going around, and where is it? Italy, yeah. It was cracking me up the other day. They were whispering in the office, and I go, what's up? They go, the Pope. The rumor is the Pope's got coronavirus. And I'm going, I'm sure the Pope will be just fine. He's got a direct line. He'll be just fine. So, yeah, funny stuff, right? Funny stuff.
Well, not funny. It's scary, but
we'll be fine.
But we're funny. That's the important part.
Yeah. Exactly. You can listen to the TFWP, get a couple pieces of important information to chew on for the week, and have a little laugh with us. That's the good stuff. You got anything that?
The one thing, no, you and I are pretty similar in our tactics, although I used to use lists, and then I would just throw them away, and I would have a lot of sense of accomplishment and making sure I'm crossing things off.
Right.
I just started saving them.
Interesting.
So just a pile of saved lists, and you can kind of go back and look at what you did. It's the same thing as just keeping a calendar, except there's the physical sensation of crossing it off. And then, it's more tactile for me at least.
Right. I tried to do it on the phone or they have these programs lists or just even your memo file. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. I'm a little more tactile about that stuff at least.
Yeah. And to be able to put a line to it, very satisfying.
No, it's great. I love it.
I'll tell you one way that I cheat, and don't tell any of the listeners.
Okay. That's a good call.
I put one or two really easy, quick things at the top of my list, right? So I can get those done right away, and then I look at my list and go, man, I'm rolling.
Let me guess. Number 1, wake up. Number 2, stretch.
Number 1.
Number 3, shower.
Sit down in the chair. Number 2, fill up the printer with paper or whatever. But a couple of easy little shorties kind of get you going. And
we're ready for a break. Good job.
You know me too well. All right, so there you have it. 9 steps to a better workday. A couple of add-ins from Brian and myself. Something to think about as we all go through our workday. So normally we're going to do some emails, but Engineer Scott's over there looking at me going, cut. We're running long. So we're not going to do any emails. We'll save the one that I had planned for today, next week or the week thereafter. And we look forward to talking to you then. This is Dave Hagan, and you've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.